Hello, this is my critique on the 100 meter at Cabrillo. I just want to say good job to everyone. And let's start. Lanham, it's good that you're bouncing up and down because you're keeping your body in check for when you do have to start running. Overall, you look really good, so I'm not going to say too much, but for your baton handoff, I think you put up your arm a little bit too early. Around this mark, you should put up your arm. Min-Tam, I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but make sure your back foot stays on your toe and you keep your front foot planted, because very last second you kind of like lifted up your toe there. Make sure you keep your front foot planted. Overall, your arms looks okay, and then that was a pretty good pass. From the 0 to 40 meter mark, make sure you focus more on pushing as hard as you can rather than your stride length, because I noticed that your stride is a little bit larger and you kind of stay like this throughout the whole run, so you get kind of tired at the end. Another thing I noticed is that you want to keep your arm at 130 degree whenever you're doing a backswing. For your front swing, it's good that you keep it at 90 degree, but if you do this for your backswing, it actually creates tension on your shoulder and you don't want that. So make sure backswing 130 degree rather than 90. And I think you get a little bit tired at the end. Now you're passing to Rachel. Rachel, I'm happy that you did your little squat thing ahead of time, so that your arm positioning isn't moving too much before Min-Tam is passing to you. That was a really good lean into your pass. As you can tell, you're already pretty much running before you even get the baton, so that's really good. But for future reference, don't lean too hard into the run because we might get penalized. But overall, it looks really good. We'll work on this, but make sure you keep your upper body closer to the ground, and you're taking smaller but faster strides. I think you start accelerating at around the 40 meter mark. It looks pretty good. One thing to note is that you don't want to flare your arms inward. Make sure they're parallel to your body. Also, this is something I kind of said to Min-Tam, but you don't want to keep your backswing too tense, because as you can tell, this is pretty much a 90 degree. For your front swing, you want to keep it 90 degree, but for backswing, you want around 130 degrees, so it should be like around here, as you can see with my cursor. Because if you keep it tense for the backswing, you actually create tension that you don't want on your shoulder. But overall, you'll have a pretty good run. Just make sure you push through it, because I think you get a little bit tired at the end, and you probably could have gone a little faster. Now it's me. I'm keeping my front foot planted with my back foot on my toe. I probably could have leaned a little bit harder into my run, but overall the pass looks pretty okay. As you can tell, I'm pushing as hard as I can in the very beginning. And I actually complete my acceleration phase really fast at the day of Cabrillo, which is good, because I'm running at full strides and full speed from like the 30 meter mark to the very end. I think it's because I've had a lot of energy this day. But overall, I look pretty relaxed. My back arm swing is creating like 100 to 130 degree angle, and my strides are really large, really fast. I had a really good run this day. Now I'm passing to Joyce. Joyce, it's good that you're staying closer to the ground. I felt pretty good passing to you. Make sure it's good that you're on your toe with your back foot, but for your front foot, make sure that it stays planted. That was a pretty good lean into your receive. When you're from the 0 to 30 meter mark, or around the 40 meter mark, make sure you're pushing as hard as you can, not focusing too much on your strides, okay? Again, make sure you keep your arms parallel to your body and not swerving inward. But overall, I think your top speed looks pretty good. Your strides are good. And now you're passing to Grace. Grace, make sure you're on your toe with your back foot, and you lean a little bit harder into your run. But overall, the pass looks good. You're taking hard, and you want to stay like this throughout the whole run while you're slowly expanding your strides. Make sure your arms are parallel to your body, because I think you kind of cut inward sometimes. But overall, you look pretty good. I think you get a little bit tired at the end, so make sure you just keep on pushing through the whole thing. and you're passing to Colin. Colin, something I want you to try to do is bring your foot, your dominant foot, which is your back foot, a little bit more backward while lowering your body a little bit more. That was a pretty good pass. Colin, I think you can lean a little bit more into your receive, okay? And your acceleration looks pretty good. Your arms are relaxed. And I think you have a pretty good run. Make sure you push your legs a little bit harder, because I noticed like around this mark, you look like you're kind of floating. So whenever you look like you're floating, it means that you're kind of like jogging rather than running. So make sure you're going as fast as possible. But overall, you look pretty good. Remember, arms parallel to your body, not going inward. And remember, relax whenever you're passing. Knock, that was a good lean into your run. Remember, 0 to the 40-meter mark, you want to focus on pushing as hard as possible while expanding your strides. Also, something I noticed is that you kind of bob your head when you run. This is because, 1, you don't keep your torso like straight, and 2, your arms are like going inward. So because of this, like your whole upper body's like moving back and forth, and your head's bobbing, and that's really bad for your neck. So try to keep your upper body straight while bringing your arms parallel to your body. But overall, your strides looks good. I think you can push a little bit harder, because at the end I think you get a little bit more tired, but it's okay. John, arms a little bit higher, but otherwise I don't really have anything to complain about. Your acceleration looks really good and your top speed looks really good. Remember, relax your arms when you're running. And you bring your arm a little bit too high up when you start. Or not too high up, too early. You bring your arm a little bit too early, as you can tell. It's around this mark that you want to start running. Oh, there you go. Around this mark that you want to bring up your arm. Now you're passing to Ben. Ben, that's a good lean into your pass or receive. Make sure you try to push a little bit harder while expanding your strides. I don't really have anything to complain about, but I noticed that you kind of like start looking down. I'm not sure why. Make sure you keep your head upright when you run. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. Keep your arms parallel to your body. Now you pass to Paul. Paul, I want you to start a little bit lower. Yeah, start a little bit lower. So bring out your back foot a little bit farther and get a little bit lower when you're starting. Because your acceleration looks really good, but you need to focus on keeping your body closer to the ground. Otherwise, your whole run looks really good. Make sure you keep your arms a little more relaxed. And you bring up your arm a little bit too early. So, as you can tell, like right here, you bring up your arm, which is way too early. It should be around here that you bring up your arm. Emily, that was a good lean into your receive. Make sure you're pushing as hard as you can at the beginning. And make sure your arms are parallel to your body, because as you can notice, your arms are going inward. Overall, I think your strides look pretty good. I think the only thing you really need to work on is pushing as hard as possible. Also, I think you brought up your baton a little bit too early. Yeah, that was a little bit too early. Around here, you should bring up your baton. So you should like be pushing it up, and right when you push it up, Brittany should be receiving it. Brittany, that was a pretty good lean into your receive. Let me recheck that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Just be careful of getting penalized because of leaning too early. In the beginning, I think you need to push a little bit harder. Overall, your running form looks pretty good. You just need to focus on keeping your body lower to the ground in your acceleration phase. Also, something I noticed is that you run on your toes, and although this has been something that we've been taught, what I want you to try to do is run completely flat. So as you can tell, you're running with your toes, right? I want you to try, like, when you land, your whole foot lands at the same time. I'll try to find an example of this real quick. So, as you can see, like, Grace, when she plants her foot, it's like completely on the ground. I want you to try doing this rather than running on your toes, because I think running on your toes slightly like slows you down. Otherwise, your arm looks pretty good. Just try to keep it a little more relaxed, because I think when you go backwards, you get tense a little bit, and it's bad for your shoulders. Matthew, next time try to lean more into your receive, but otherwise it looks pretty good. Your acceleration looks good, and your overall running looks pretty good, so I won't say much. Oh my. Carly, you have a good acceleration phase. Your top speed looks pretty good. You're pushing as hard as possible, and that's really good. There's not much for me to critique here. And finally, Isaac looks good. You keep your body close to the ground, you slowly rise up, and you're pushing as hard as possible. I won't really say much about Isaac. And yeah, it looks pretty good. One last thing that I want everyone to see is Paul's acceleration, because his acceleration is really good. Right here. I want, starting next practice, we're gonna focus more on accelerating, because this is like what really helps us build our speed. But notice how fast he's pushing into the ground. And throughout the whole run, he stays like pushing as fast as possible. And notice that as he's doing that, his strides slowly get larger. Let me replay that. Pretty small, starts expanding. It's pretty clear that his strides get a lot larger throughout his run. And yeah, that's it. Have a good day.